Hi, Chuck. Do you hear me well? Awesome, awesome. Hello, Chuck. Hello, everyone tonight. Welcome to the new episode of the Frankie Stories. So today we're diving into one of cinema's most bizarre legends, Tommy Wiseau's The Room. It's the movie so bad it became good and then became history. So let's start. Los Angeles, the land of dreams, palm trees, and pure uncut delusion. Every year, thousands of hopefuls arrive, clutching headshots and heartbreak, all convinced they'll be the next big thing. And then there was Tommy. Tommy Wiseau didn't just dream of Hollywood fame. He declared war on obscurity. He wanted to be a movie star so badly that when Hollywood refused to give him a part, he simply bought himself a movie, $6 million worth of one. Let's start with the facts, or what might be facts. Because with Tommy Wiseau, facts are more like loose guidelines. For decades, nobody knew where he came from, how old he was, or how he had so much money. When people asked, Tommy would smile and say, "I'm from New Orleans." And yet somehow his accent didn't sound like anything that had ever passed through Louisiana. In fact, it didn't sound like it belonged to any continent we know of. It was part Eastern European, part Martian, and entirely Tommy. Later, after years of speculation, journalists pieced together that he was most likely born in Poland and grew up somewhere in Eastern Europe before immigrating to the United States. But Tommy insists to this day that he is 100% American. And in a strange way, he's right. Because what's more American than showing up out of nowhere and reinventing yourself completely? So, now about the money. The Room, his self-financed masterpiece, cost approximately $6 million to make. And Tommy paid for it himself. No studio, no investors, he just wrote the checks. How? That's where the mystery deepens. Tommy once claimed he made his fortune importing leather jackets from South Korea, which might be true. Or might be another riddle. What we do know is that Tommy adored American cinema. His idol was James Dean, especially Dean's famous line from Rebel Without a Cause, "You're tearing me apart." That line didn't just inspire Tommy, it possessed him. He once said he wanted to make a movie that made people feel the way that line made him feel. Big emotion, real passion, serious drama. Of course, Tommy's interpretation of serious drama eventually meant rooftop screaming in its weird sex scenes and people tossing footballs for no reason whatsoever. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. In the late 1990s, Tommy was living in San Francisco, taking acting classes at the Shelton studio. That's where he met Greg Sestero, a handsome, young, aspiring actor who would eventually become Tommy's best friend and his co-star in The Room. Greg was in his early 20s, bright-eyed, trying to break into Hollywood. Tommy was older. How much older? No one could say because he refused to reveal his age. He dressed in multiple belts, often wore sunglasses indoors, as if protecting himself from the light of reason. After one acting class, Tommy told Greg, "You have a great talent. You will be my best friend." And Greg, understandably both flattered and slightly alarmed, said yes. Not long after, Tommy invited Greg to move to Los Angeles with him to chase the Hollywood dream. Greg agreed, because who wouldn't want to follow a mysterious, possibly mortal man with unlimited cash and a passion for monologues? So Tommy packed his black Mercedes, his acting ambitions, probably a few spare belts, and drove south to conquer Hollywood. Once there, he auditioned for roles. The problem, no one knew what to do with him. His accent defied logic, his mannerism confused casting actors, his headshot looked like they were taken during a vampire fashion show. Sounds familiar, Chuck, right? Sounds like me. Was he Eastern European villain material? A romantic lead, a secret agent from another dimension? No one could tell. And when the industry didn't offer him a role, Tommy did what every great visionary or lunatic eventually does. He said, "Fine, I'll do it myself." He decided to write, direct, produce, and star in his own movie. He would show Hollywood what it had been missing. He proved his talent. He would make the greatest drama ever made. He would make The Room. When asked why, he said, "Because The Room can mean different things to different people, which is either very deep or the kind of thing you say when you haven't decided on the title yet." So Tommy wrote the screenplay entirely on his own, adapting it from a massive unpublished novel he'd written earlier. The script told the story of Johnny, a successful banker betrayed by his fiancée Lisa and his best friend Mark. It was meant to be a raw, emotional drama about love, trust, and heartbreak. On paper, that sounds fine, right? But in Tommy's hands, it became something else entirely. The dialogue felt like it had been translated through 3 different languages and malfunctioning robot. Lines like, "Anyway, how's your sex life?" or "Leave your stupid comments in your pocket," defied logic. One character even announces she has breast cancer, and no one ever mentioned it again. But Tommy didn't see any of this as a problem. He saw it as an art. He often compared his work to Tennessee Williams, and he wasn't joking. Greg Sestero, who played Mark, once said that Tommy was completely serious about The Room. He wanted to create something that would move people, the kind of story that would win an Oscar or at least make them cry. So Tommy became a one-man studio, writer, director, producer, and leading man. Every decision was his, and everyone was, well, unconventional. For example, when it came to film, most directors rent equipment, right? Tommy bought it, but he couldn't decide whether to shoot on 35mm film or digital, so he used both simultaneously. 2 full camera rigs side by side. No one had done it before, for a good reason. He rented a small Los Angeles studio on Fountain Avenue, and instead of filming on real locations, he insisted on building entire sets indoors, including a rooftop. When asked why, he said, "Because I want to control the light." Every day on set was unpredictable. Tommy would show up late, rewrite lines on spot, and sometimes fire people mid-scene. His direction to actors was famously vague. Things like, "Do it more real," or "You have to be human, but not too human." One of the most infamous examples was the rooftop confrontation scene where Johnny yells, I didn't hit her. It's not true. It's bullshit. I didn't hit her. I did not. Oh, hi, Mark. That scene alone took hours to film. Tommy forgot the lines repeatedly, missed his marks, and had to have dialogue fed to him through an earpiece. After dozens of takes, he finally nailed it and accidentally created one of the most famous quoted movie moments of all the time. The production was chaotic. Crew members came and went, exhausted by the confusion. Sets were rebuilt mid-shoot. Costume changed without reasons. At one point, Tommy replaced an actress without explanation and kept shooting as if nothing had happened. Yet despite all of this, the cast stayed. Because underneath the madness, Tommy was sincere. He wasn't making a joke. He truly believed in the room. And that strange, almost innocent conviction was hard to walk away from. After months of reshoots and endless rewrites, the room was finally finished. The cast and the crew were not sure what they just made, but Tommy was convinced it was a masterpiece. He rented a Lamley Sunset 5 Theatre for 2 weeks, a small but very respectable venue in West Hollywood, and paid out of pocket for everything. He even hired a publicist, printed glossy posters, and rented a massive billboard towering over Highland Avenue. The billboard featured his face with a haunted close-up of his eyes and the tagline worthy of mystery: The Room, a film with the passion of Tennessee Williams, and below that, in big bold letters, directed by Tommy Wiseau. Oh, and his personal number. Oh, why not, right? The billboard stayed up for 5 years. People assumed it was a prank or some kind of performance art piece that never ended, but for Tommy it was serious marketing. He truly believed success was just a matter of persistence. So opening night arrived. Tommy showed up in a tuxedo, the same one from those infamous football scenes, and prepared to bask in his long-awaited triumph. But when the lights went down and the film began, something unexpected happened. The audience started laughing. Not polite laughter, not the kind that sneaks out during a bad line. Full, uncontrollable laughter. From the very first moments, people couldn't believe what they were seeing. The dialogue, the acting, the editing, everything felt slightly off. There were the random slow motion montages, the endless sex scenes filmed from the exact same angle, all of them. The rooftop green screen was so fake it could have doubled as Windows XP wallpaper, something like that. And of course the spoons, those framed stock photos of cutlery decorating the apartment set. Audience members began shouting, "Spoons, spoons," and throwing plastic ones at the screen every time a spoon appeared. And in that moment, a new kind of movie-going ritual was born. Tommy was confused. He couldn't understand why people were laughing at his tragic love story. After all, the movie was supposed to be serious, an emotional gut punch, not a comedy club. Greg's sister later recalled that Tommy sat in stunned silence during the first screening. But gradually, as the laughter grew louder and people started cheering his name, something changed. Tommy leaned over and whispered, "They think it's comedy." Then after a pause, "That's okay, I make them laugh. That's good, no? And just like that, he embraced it. The film's 2-week run ended quickly, but word began to spread. People couldn't stop talking about The Room, not because it was brilliant, but because it was so bad. It was brilliant. A few months later, comedians and film students began organizing midnight screenings. People would show up in tuxedos, bring footballs, and reenact scenes live in the aisles. It became part movie, part performance, part therapy session for the absurd. Soon the screenings turned into packed events, a Rocky Horror style celebration of disaster cinema, like Rocky Horror that we mentioned in the previous episode of Frankie's stories. And Tommy, even the entrepreneur, leaned into it completely. He'd show up to theaters wearing sunglasses indoors, sign autographs, sell DVDs out of boxes, and pose for pictures like a rock star. When asked about the movie's newfound popularity, Tommy would say, "It's good because people enjoy it. They laugh, they cry, they express themselves." This is actually kind of beautiful. Because somehow, against all logic, Room had become exactly what he wanted it to be. A film that made feel something. It just wasn't the feeling he'd planned. Over time, its reputation grew beyond cult status. Celebrities like James Franco, Seth Rogen, and Kirsten Bell started hosting screenings and quoting lines. Critics began calling it the Citizen Kane of the movies. Isn't that beautiful? And years later, Greg Sestero wrote The Disaster Artist, a memoir about the making of The Room. The book became a hit, and in 2017, James Franco adapted it into an Oscar-nominated film with Franco playing Tommy himself. You know, it takes a special kind of fascination to make a movie about the worst movie ever made. When James Franco decided to turn The Disaster Artist, Greg Sestero's memoir, into a film, a lot of people wondered why. Why would a Hollywood A-lister want to relieve the awkwardness, the chaos, the pure mystery of Tommy Wiseau's world? But for Franco, it wasn't about mocking Tommy. It was about understanding him. Franco once said that Tommy Wiseau is the ultimate outsider artist. He came from nowhere, spoke in an accent no one could place, and made a movie that broke every rule in filmmaking. And yet, he did it. Against all odds, he created something unforgettable. Franco saw that as a kind of strange, beautiful victory. To him, Disaster Artist wasn't just about bad filmmaking. It was about dreaming big, even when everyone laughs at you. It was also about friendship. Two guys, Tommy and Greg, trying to make it in Hollywood and refusing to quit. Franco connected with that. He understood the hunger, the obsession that come with wanting to create something meaningful. He admired Tommy's relentless belief in himself, a belief so strong that it somehow turned failure into a legend. There was also something poetic about it, a movie about making a movie where art imitates life and life imitates art. Franco loved that meta energy. He directed The Disaster Artist while playing Tommy Wiseau himself, capturing both the comedy and the tragedy of someone who wanted to be seen. And that's what makes this film so special. It doesn't laugh at Tommy, it laughs with him. It finds humanity in the ridiculous. It reminds us that even if our dreams don't turn out the way we imagine, there is something noble, even inspiring in trying. In the end, Franco wasn't celebrating the room because it was bad. He was celebrating it because it was real. Because behind every disaster, there is an artist. And behind every failure, there is a dream that refused to die. So, in a strange circular twist of fate, Tommy Wiseau did achieve Hollywood recognition. Yet not a dramatic genius, but as a lovable madman behind the world's most fascinating cinematic disaster. And he's fine with that. He still tours with the film, meets fans, occasionally drops cryptic statements about his next big project. When people ask him about the room's success, he smiles and says, "You can laugh, you can cry, you can express yourself, but please don't hurt each other." And honestly, after all, who can argue with that? Because against every rule of filmmaking, against reason, against talent, even physics, Tommy Wiseau did the impossible. He made something unforgettable. That's the secret of the room. It wasn't so bad, it's good. It was so sincere, it couldn't fail. So, now, it became a cult movie, but what exactly makes a movie a cult movie? It's not about the box office success or Oscars. In fact, most cult movies start out as complete disasters. Take The Room by Tommy Wiseau, or Rocky Horror Picture Show, which began as a commercial flop, but grew into one of the most beloved midnight movies of all time. It begins with failure, or at least with some rejection. The Room was meant to be funny, but its strange dialogue, dramatic delivery, and mysterious creator fascinated audiences. People started gathering to watch it, not to mock it cruelly, but to celebrate it, shouting lines, throwing spoons, laughing together. So, that's the heart of the cult movie phenomenon. Yeah, you have to watch it, Chuck. Yes, it's so weird. It's so awkward. It throws you off. It's hard to comprehend what you're watching, but it's so good. Thank you so much, Chuck. Thank you so much, Chuck. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, thank you. Thank you everyone for watching me. Hi Joe, hi Raul, oh William, Electra is watching. Oh, so nice to see you all guys.